me just a second here, y'all. We are about to do this. Okay. All right. Okay. Welcome to it. My name is TJ Denzer. I am doing a stream on behalf of GameWatcher.com. We are going to play Tyranny Bastard's Wound today. This is the newest expansion on top of the original Tyranny game, which is a from Obsidian Entertainment and Paradox Interactive. It is a game in which the bad guy has won. He has taken over the world, and he is basically the guy in charge, and you are one of his servants. Essentially, in Bastard's Wound, it is an expansion to the main story of the game. You're going to be exploring more places. There's going to be more quests. There's going to be more missions, more encounters, and more importantly, you get to know your companions a little bit more. There are specific missions that are centered around three of the characters: Verse, Lantry, and Barik. And we're gonna jump into it and get into playing the game. So actually, here we are. This is actually in the original Tyranny, you play the role of the Fate Binder, who is sort of like he sort of goes out and covers and carries out the law of the Overlord Kairos, who is the big bad who took over the world. In the game, and this particular part right here, we are actually in the court of Tunan, who is sort of like your boss. If this was essentially, Kairos would be considered the governor, Tunan would be considered a judge, and you would be considered essentially a cop. So let's get started. I mean, evil versions of all those things, of course. So jumping into it, we're going on the Weight of Igus, which is our first quest, and we're going to speak with Barik. Barik wants to know if there's any way he can be freed from his armored prison. If you don't know who Barik is, he's this guy right here, the big man in the bladey armor. His story is that during the conquering of the world, he got caught up in one of Kairos' spells and was essentially wrapped. There was a storm that like threw blades everywhere, and he essentially got caught in a magnetic storm of blades that wrapped around his body and sealed around him like a suit of armor, which he cannot remove. So it's very uncomfortable. He cannot remove any of that stuff, cannot take it off, no matter how much he wants to. And he certainly wants to. Who wouldn't? So let's speak with Barik. He wishes to talk to you. Fatebinder, if you have a moment. Barik stands at attention, his rigid bearing making him an unmoving statue. I know the two of us have clashed on several subjects since the Iron Marshal assigned me to your protection. I hope those disagreements do not weigh too heavily against the request I'm about to make of you. I'll be nice. I like Barik. In this particular game, I have made him fear me as much as be loyal to me, and that's something you can do in Tyranny with a lot of your companions. It's not so much an alignment of you, they like you or hate you. It's how much they fear you and how much they trust you. And as you can see with Barik, he is equal parts fear and loyalty to me. On this particular character, there's things you can do in the game where you can either act completely in Kairos' will, or you can move and do a little bit of subterfuge and move against it. For this particular character, I am somewhat bucking Kairos' authority. So these guys, most of my people that are loyal to Kairos have equal parts respect and fear for me in this particular playthrough. And I should mention this expansion. This takes place in the second act of the game. So once you've gotten past the first act and get a little bit into the second act, you can start playing around with Bastard's Wound. Where I am right now is essentially somewhere around the middle part of the second act. So, what do you want, Barik? I'm gonna be nice to him, because, he's had a hard day. He has a hard life. I hoped that perhaps the adjudicator would hear my case. What are you talking about? I've been encased in this. He wraps a gauntlet against the shards of corroded iron and bronze that sweep across his chest. Shell, since Kairos' edict of storms made a grave of old stalwart. It occurred in service to the Overlord, and I would like to ask that the Overlord free me of its burden. This is the thing. Aren't you more useful in your armor? Which is the thing, because his armor is sort of helps in his battle and some of his skills. Perhaps. But there are other armors. Shinier armors. Armors that I can take off and go to the bathroom. Air passes from his helmet, possibly the result of a sigh. Any respectable commander would extol to you the virtues of high morale. I confess that each day I remain confined in this monstrosity, mine wanes. Tuning can't order? I wasn't going to ask for the Overlord to do it personally. His metal plates grind together as he shifts. The Forgebound Guild swore its services to the Adjudicator. If any hope of my freedom from this carapace exists, it lies with them. And the Forgebound are specialist magesmiths. They're basically people that create armor and artifacts, and also imbue them with spells and magic. I'll happily make your case to the Archon. Archon? Whatever. Thank you, Fatebinder. His salute rings like a poorly cast bell. I eagerly await the Archon's judgment. And guess where we are? We're at the Archon. That guy. This man, right here. Tunon. Fatebinder, you look as if you require my counsel. What is it you wish to know? Tunon likes me, but I have pissed him off in the past. I mean, he's the big guy. I figure if anyone, I should try to keep him happy, even if I'm doing things behind his back. I have a request from Barik of the Stone Shields. What does Barik of the Stone Shields want of the court? He has made his displeasure known in a loud enough voice to collapse the tiers upon each other. The Adjudicator glares down at Barik. He came to inquire if the Forgebound could help remove his armor. If he has become encased in iron, that is none of the court's concern. My Forgebound smiths are occupied crafting weapons for the army. I would not have their focus diverted to liberate one soldier from his raiment. Stone Shield! Do this a disfavor not have standards for the upkeep of arms and armor? Is this not one of your Archon's guiding principles? It is, Your Honor, but I found myself trapped in this junk pile after the Edict of Storms hit Stalwart. If you want to blame anyone, it should be Kairos. Damn! He gets struck with lightning. The Adjudicator contemplates the matter in total silence. The moment drags on far longer than you would suspect it warrants, but Tunon's interest does not abate for a moment. The soldier will remain encased in his armor, eccentric though it may be, and all subjects of Kairos are forbidden to aid in its removal. Magic, the likes of which none of us understand, has touched the stone shield, and we will not interfere with the will of Kairos. Not only is he saying no, but he's saying nobody help this guy. But I'm trapped. Barik trails off, looking to you for answers. I mean, he seems pretty adamant about it, but man, let's give it a try. Oh, pissed him off. I'm surprised and disappointed that you would even ask. Whatever you are trying to prove to your travel companion, the court finds it festering with sympathy and a lack of precedent. Such is the will of Kairos and the will of the court. Tuna nods and bangs his gavel. Well, you tried, and I suppose that counts for something, even if it means I'll die in this thing. The adjudicator didn't say anything about me bending my way out of here, at least. Not that trying has ever made it better. Well, that's sad. Then be on your way. Okay. You might notice, okay. So I need to talk to Barik now about what happened back there. Only the slightest nod from Barik's domed helm offers any indication that the soldier noticed your approach. You okay in there, big guy? The Archon's decision changes nothing. I have persevered to this point, and I shall continue to do so for the sake of General Ash and the North. Graven Ash. He's the leader of Barik's people, basically. There may be another way. Your master was very specific in his sentence. He forbade not only the assistance from the Forgebound, but from anyone else, anywhere in the world. Yeah, but no, the Archon forbade... Oh, let's see. Another way to free yourself, honor demands... No, the Archon forbade any subject of Kairos to aid you. We just need to find someone that's an asshole. Or maybe a good person in this case. It's kind of like opposite day in Tyranny. Everyone who's bad is good, and everyone's good who's good is bad. You split hairs, Binder. The whole of the world bends to the knee of the Overlord. If that were the case, we wouldn't be in the Tiers, would we? The Tiers is pretty much the last bastion of people that are against Kairos. We are here to... Basically, everyone here, including me, is supposed to be working to crush this last bit of resistance and make Kairos' rule absolute. And, yeah. You're not suggesting we ask some renegade mage for aid. You would discard the spirit and law of its letter. The spirit of the law... You would discard the spirit of the law and favor its letter. Trust me, Barik, it's the letter of the law that matters. Bend the rules, baby. Find your way out of that ironclad contract. Not to me. The honor of a deed lies as much in its spirit as its action. Oh, you sweet, sad little boy. Perhaps some other way to free you will present itself. Your optimism does you credit, Fatebinder, though I fear it is misapplied. I have lore on this particular character. I know my way around magic and sigils. So that's something that sort of... There are numerous skill checks throughout this game. You may have seen one earlier that it was a soldier skill check, and that applies to my background. I forget what I've got going on with this character, but I'm not a soldier. But I do have a lot of lore, and I can pass this particular skill check. The Forgebound will be curious about you regardless. The articulation on your armor is incredible. At the very least, we should let them have a look at you. Hello! Welcome in. For anyone who may have showed up late, again, we are playing Tyranny, Bastard's Wound, which is the expansion to an Evildoer RPG. Right now, we're going through... We're fiddling around with the first part of a quest. We're working with Barik here. He is a soldier that was entwined in swords and axes and all sorts of terrible things to pretty much encase him in a fused body of metal armor. And he wants to get that stuff off because it's hard to go to the bathroom when you can't remove your pants. Um, my armor is unique. Perhaps it can teach them something that will aid the disfavored. We can find the forge bound at their smithy in Lethian's Crossing. He nods. Let us leave, Fatebinder. I worry my presence offends these nobles' precious sensibilities. He bows his head to you and moves away, trailing behind him the wafting reek of fetid privy. That's fancy talk for poopy or pee-pee. So again, this is an expansion to the main part of the Tyranny game. We are in the middle of the second act where this expansion sort of kicks off. Um, and we are going to go to Lethian's Crossing, which is at the Sunset Spire. Because right now we're headed to the Forge Bound to see if we can do something about that terrible armor on his body. Those Forge Bound are again they're mage smiths that are capable of creating and smithing magical equipment. So if anyone knows how to fix Barik's armor, they might. Enable scouting mode to gain a bonus. Hidden containers and traps. And for those of you who haven't played Tyranny before, it's very much an old school RPG, very similar to what's from Obsidian Entertainment, who have worked on a lot of isometric RPGs in the past. So right now we're headed up to the Forgebound Smith to see if we can't open some options for our friend Barik. And right now we're on Barik's quest, or rather a quest to help Barik. But there are other sort of big quests in this game that apply to some of our other companions, like Lantry and Verse. Specifically, this a big part of this expansion is creating sort of loyalty quests for you to get to know your companions better and become better acquainted with them. And the better you become acquainted with a companion, the stronger they become. For instance, I'll show you here. As you can see here, I have quite a few faction skills, or faction alignments. Favor and Wrath in both. I've pissed off the Scarlet Chorus before. But for Barik, I've gotten him up to a certain point in his loyalty where it unlocks certain skills. If they fear you enough, they get a skill, and if they trust you enough, they get a skill. Same with Verse. As you can see, I've been kind of diplomatic towards my friends, but some of them don't like what I do on a regular basis because on this particular character, I have done more than my part in subterfuge and making and going behind Kyrus's back. Let's talk to the Forgebound and see what they can do for me. I like being an agent of chaos. I don't like being an agent of order. I would not be a very good actual Fatebinder. I would probably be destroyed. Okay. So let's talk to Lohara, Master of Tempering. The smith turns from the heat of her workplace, her form lammed in a in a shimmering orange glow. She hangs her heavy, sigil-carved hammer from her apron, the magical flames licking the length of its head, doing her no harm. Fatebinder, what brings you to the forge? Lohara sets down her hamper, then wipes her hands on her apron, an action that serves only to muddle up the sweat and soot on both. Okay. I hoped you would examine Barik. Did the adjudicator not issue an injunction against precisely that action? Indeed, he sent the decision by bird to each of the guild workshops. Yeah, but shut up. Pardon. To merely look him over, that's not exactly against what the adjudicator's degree is it? Allow me to state this in no uncertain terms, Fatebinder. The Forgebound swore our allegiance to Tunon, the adjudicator, Archon of justice. We do not easily forget that oath, nor do we rush to circumvent it. Our fastidiousness is not limited to our craft. Loyalty to an oath looks like this, Fatebinder, in case you had forgotten. Yeah, it does look like Barik. He is a super loyal dude, and now he's encased in swords. Subterfuge. I have enough to be... this is my sneaky character. I don't suppose you know any skilled smiths who lack your ironclad sense of loyalty. Behind the obscurity of his helm, you can hear Barik grinding his teeth. He's mad. The game is pretty good. If you like an old school RPG, it's extremely fun. It's like Baldur's Gate. Obsidian Entertainment also did Pillars of Eternity, which is another isometric old school RPG like this. They have a lot of talent behind them. They know their way around it. For those who might not remember, they also handled Fallout New Vegas, which is by far my favorite Fallout. I feel like it was the best at handling all the RPG elements, the stories, the factions, all that stuff. I have nothing but respect for Obsidian Entertainment and their skill with RPGs. Behind the obscurity of his helm, you can hear Barik gritting his teeth. You ask me to be an accomplice to your crime. There may be an individual who can help you. Rumor has it there's a mage-smith of some manner at the Stone Sea. Secluded Forge. So, it sounds like we're gonna go to the Stone Sea. By all rights, she should have been killed, so I assume that she's worked out a deal with that glowing green bastard Nerat. I cannot provide you with a name, but you might ask around Halfgate if you have the misfortune of being in that area. Appreciate it, Lahora. Goodbye, Fatebinder. As far as I'm concerned, this conversation never occurred. Okay. So, let's see. What do we got to do next? A mage-smith and the Stone Sea. So we're out of here. Oh no, it's fine. Welcome to the stream. So as I said, we're working at trying to get our friend Barik, who is a man encased in a horrible armor set of swords, out of his horrible armor set of swords, so he can live his life as a normal soldier and put on new armors and use some swords to kill people. So we need to get out of here and go to the Stone Sea. It's been a while since I played this game, so I can't remember if there's like a fast travel option on getting people through, but whatever. It's fine. Okay, so, Stone Sea. Where is it? Secluded Forge. It's gonna take us a while to get there. Put on some traveling music. Tyranny, I can't remember at the top of my head if it went to console or not, actually. Encounter at the Stone Sea. Your progress is arrested by the appearance of a gang of Crimson and Leather who round the corner ahead of you. Oh, shit. Verse mutters. The Ass Gang. That is a... That is a terrible name for anyone. She shrugs at your questioning glance. I ran with them for a bit. They note you and approach, weapons at ease. The foremost gang member raises a hand in greeting. Alrighty. Well, let's hail him. Pardon. You raise your own hand in response, greeting the ass gang. The leader's head is half-shaven, and a pale sickle of a scar curves down her cheek to the corner of her thin lips. Fatebinder, she says, bowing her head slightly. Verse. Her tone is cold, her eyes narrowed at your scarlet fury compatriot. We don't care about the slippery loyalty of law dogs. Mutts can't help but nip at their betters. Chuckles murmur from the other gang members. But Verse, she betrayed the chorus, and that demands a scalp. Verse is part of a group of Kairos' people called the Scarlet Chorus, who are pretty much like the Mad Max assless chaps gang of evil groups. They just sort of attack and pillage and rape and kill and engage in all the fun things that you would expect people that have no sense of honor to do. Sorry, Verse answers. I'm flat out of spare scalps, clever ass. The one you're using will do nicely, another member of the gang says. Verse looks to you. They want to fight, and I'm happy to oblige. Your call, Fatebinder. So at this point, I can either fight them with let Verse fight them alone, fight them with Verse, or I can attempt athletics. I'm gonna do a skill check. And that's the thing you can do in this game. You can actually go through a lot of this game without fighting if you want to, which is something you can do in a lot of Obsidian games. They give you the option to use your skills to your advantage. You step between the gang and Verse, your hand going to your weapon. You remind them of your rage and anger at Vendrian's well, of your actions during the conquest, the widows you left crying, and the orphans you left alone, and the grandma you pushed into the street when she asked you to help her cross. Of your choices since, you ask them if they truly want to delay a Fatebinder of Tune and the Adjudicator over an insignificant matter of pride. By the time you finish, they've all backed up a pace, with a final glare at Verse. The choirmen step out of the road to let you pass. I could have handled that, you know. Yeah, I do know, but yeah. Okay. So I caused some wrath in her, and I think I dropped some wrath with the Scarlet Chorus? I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going. Ooh, crystally place. A lot of the backgrounds in this game were very well rendered and painted. I like them a lot. Except we went straight inside of a building. This would, I guess... Oh! I'm gonna loot this place. I'm sure this person won't mind. Licentia! Licentia? Cool air stirs your clothes as you step into the small workshop. Despite the lit forge, you see against the back wall a dark-robed woman stalks to the center of the space, fingers dancing against her chin, eyebrows furrowed in thought. Sooty smears on her skin suggest she touches her face often. She spares you an initially dismissive glance, but follows it with a surprised double-take. Oh, fuck me. The Fatebinder. You're damn right. Pardon. I mean, what brings you to my humble outlier? Need a soft drink, a little drink. So, I take it you know me. Does anyone not? Spires don't exactly light up like the sun every day. Who are you? You sought me out, I assumed you already knew. Or do you make a habit of walking into strangers' houses? Well, I mean, this is an RPG, so of course I make a habit of walking into strangers' houses. That's just the way we work. I'm called Lycentia. I know my sigils, but mostly I'm a crafter. They keep me around for odd jobs, fixing tools, repairing armor, and generally trying to keep Halfgate from falling into the Stone Sea. Nice forge. Thanks. I made it myself. He chuckles. I'm particularly fond of the heat wards, not just on account of the comfort. Keeps the place from going up in flames. Barring anything unusual. Had the thought after. She frowns and drops into silence. After the Vellum Citadel? That's a reference to something that happens early in the game. You actually start Tyranny by doing a conquest that in which you make decisions regarding certain factions in this game, and that kind of sets your pace after you create your character for who likes you, who doesn't like you, and sort of events that have led up to what is going on as Kairos is trying to take over the world. After the Vellum Gate. After the Vellum Citadel. Are you a sage? Is anyone anymore? Or the school burned up? Surprised you took notice. Lycentia here is a former sage? It's not that she ever officially left. It's more like she got tired of life in the Citadel and never came back. Lantry is also a sage. They're kind of like magicians and scholars and history recorders that also happen to be somewhat assassiny. Like, they know how to defend themselves and be sneaky in more than a few ways. I studied among the sages once, years ago. Worked for the royalty of Azure for a while. After that, nice work until Karn arrived. You going to prosecute me? Depends on how helpful you are. Then let me ask again, why are you here? I want you to help Barik. This one, I assume. He's pointy. Her gaze wanders over a Barik's assortment of sharp edges.
Mostly on top of his head.
Overs. She and Barik are often at odds with each other. She's part of the Scarlet Chorus and he's part of the Disfavored, who are both factions of Kairos, but like where the Scarlet Chorus is sort of like the Mad Max gang of Kairos' people. The Disfavored are more like the stalwart, honorable, one man can take on 100 type people.
Must you always be an ass, Verse?
Yeah.
As we said back in Ass Gang, once an ass, always an ass.
Damn it, Fatebinder, why can't you leave this be?
That's right. Occasionally there is dialogue in this game. I don't have to read it all the time. I wish I didn't have to read it all the time, but it's not so bad. Leave what be? I hoped you might be able to free him of those bronze and iron prison. Currently, he's pretty bad at climbing, sneaking, swimming, and using the privy unassisted. I'd like you to address that. Or just get him out of the armor. I like this one.
Fatebinder, you know as well as I that Tunon forbade this. I cannot be complicit.
So what will you do? Sit on the floor and cross your arms like a child?
If I must. If that will make the Fatebinder see reason.
I promise you this will be for the best, friend. Let me deal with the legal ramifications.
I have little confidence that Tunon will see it the same way, or that you will be able to shield me from his wrath.
I assume you would want to come out of that with all your bits regardless, right? Then hold still and quiet down. Before anything else, I need to ask a few questions. What manner of questions? Understand that there may be things we can't tell you. I won't ask anything political or tactical, only matters personal. Hardly reassuring. First, have you ever engaged in sex? What? I don't... Yeah, no, he hasn't. He doesn't understand the first thing about mystic sympathy, does he? The smith frowns and looks to you. It's important, Barik, particularly in the case of possible convergence of arcane energies, to rule out resonant adulteration. Yeah, we'll go with that crazy-ass answer. Or yeah, Barik, mystical sympathies and such. I suppose that sounds reasonable. The armor has prevented anything from happening recently, regardless of whether or not I wanted it to. Before that, well, the Legion is... I spent people I cared for deeply. We are the pride of the North, strong and beautiful, he creaked quietly, virgining his way through the statement. I get it, Barik. Sparring is like dancing. It gets pretty hot. Do not compare the virtuous combat rituals of the disfavored to your scarlet rutting. And that's all I shall speak of. I have never passed the time with a mage or archon or oathbound beast woman or anything else unusual. Nothing unusual? I've always heard there's a special bond between a disfavored and their officer and their submissives. Sorry, subordinates. Ooh. She calling them disfavored kinky. Is there anything you're unwilling to soil with your perversion, witch? You wore forge-bound armor during the conquest, correct? The smith nods. And prior to it. Was it sigil woven? Enhanced against harm? I do not believe so. It was iron. Have you had any sigils of any kind branded into your skin? I bear the mark of the disfavored and nothing else. Mark of the disfavored? The general sigil, or rather what of it the Overlord's decree allows. Many members of the Legion scar themselves with it, binding their loyalty to their flesh and blood. It marks his family. See, I told you these guys were like crazy, super ridiculously loyal. I heard it said... So, Bastard's Wounds, it's supposed to be about 15 hours long if you for the casual player, anyone who's going to be jumping into it, it's probably going to be about 15 hours worth of new content, new quests, anything going on with stuff. Which is a pretty good amount for what the DLC costs. I've heard of it said that the Graven Ash protects. The sages had no direct knowledge of the Archon of War's abilities, but there are many, many theories. I don't suppose you can provide any concrete information. You ask me to reveal the great general's secrets to a mage? That is too much. Let's see. Teller Barik, Archon Ash shares a strong connection with his soldiers and allows him to take some of their harm while sharing in their experiences. Ash can heal. Yeah, and this, like I said, this expansion takes place in the second act of the game. There's 3 acts to the regular Tyranny game, and the first one covers a sort of a pinch of the conquest, and I'm not going to go into spoilers much, but it doesn't take an incredibly long time to get through the first act of the game. The second and third of the act of the game are where a lot of the meat is. So if you can just get into the second act of the game, I'm pretty close to I'm sort of near the middle of the second act right now as I'm playing this expansion. This was on a save that I kept that was just sort of halfway through after I beat it. And so if you can just make it through that first act and get into the second act, you can access this DLC. And it sort of is just a additional set of stuff to add to what's already going on in the game. You actually don't need to beat Tyranny to access the DLC. You asked me to reveal... Okay, yeah, we talked about that. We're going to go with the lore answer. Fatebinder. Fatebinder! His gasp contains anger and disbelief in equal measure. You do not need repairs or maintenance on the armor, I presume? Aside from oiling it and filing down the pointier bits? No, wait. How did you know that? Metal grinds quietly. The smith stares at Barik in thoughtful silence before retrieving from the forge a long bar of iron, its end glowing red from the heat. She holds it out to you. What am I supposed to do with this? Take it to start with. What comes next? Well, he's going to want to have a friend doing it. I'll take it. Next, you'll want to stick it to him. Through his armor. It's going to hurt regardless, but I suspect quicker would be better. She leans towards you, lowering her voice. Are you insane? Perhaps a little. Comes with having most everyone and anyone you know wiped from the face of Terratus with a few magic words from a distant tyrant. She shakes her head. I can't, or should I stab him? God, I don't know if I want to stab him. I want to help him, so I'll stab. Barik, howling in agony, staggers backwards, gasping at his side, the smell of burnt flesh hitting your nostrils a moment later. Reaching down, Lysenia grabs the iron rod and tugs it from Barik's side, eliciting another scream of pain. She steps back as his gauntlet swings out in a wild attempt to backhand her. Effing S on an ill-starred beast language. Mother of asses. What in the great general's name, woman? To Barik. It'll be okay, Barik. You faced worse. Oops. Of course it was not effing unnecessary. I did not ask for this, Barik roars, his armor ringing like a gong as he slams one gauntleted fist into the other. Amazing. She holds up the sizzling metal prod, drawing a sigil in the air with her free hand. Examine the wound. You bend close to the wound, but Barik's hand is clamped over the hole in his side, obscuring your view. Move his hand. With a growl on his lips, Barik allows you to shift his hand out of the way. You peer through the hole in the oxidized bronze and iron shell, willing yourself to ignore the mixed smells of cooking meat and fetid human waste. You see the ragged, oozing flesh beneath, a gasping red cavity pulsing in time with Barik's labored breath. Even as you watch, the wound seems to close, the bronze-colored skin knitting together at the edges like a slowly closing mouth. It's not merely the skin, however. Barik's armor cage slowly shifts and flows, incrementally reducing the aperture. Are you seeing this too? His armor seems to be healing, just like his flesh. Exactly. And the edges, if she's making any attempt to hide her excitement, it's failing miserably. Your armor and flesh heal as one. Is that a standard property among the disfavored? She straightens, peering into Barik's mismatched eyes. No, not to my knowledge. If he and his armor heal as one, they're likely mystically bound together. Indeed, Tunin likes them smart, I take it. The question remains, though, why did this happen? She smiles appreciatively at you. I have a working theory, but what I can't make out is what differentiates you from the other disfavored who served at the Blade Grave. Perhaps it's a trick of the blood. Maybe it's your connection to the Fatebinder. Maybe something else. But I barely knew the Fatebinder prior to Vendrian's will. It's one of those places I conquered. There's a lot we don't understand about how the world works. Kyra's strictures against literacy and inquiry don't exactly help. He glances at you. Use your words carefully, Smith. Ah, apologies, Fatebinder. Blanches, swallowing. Before I can suggest a solution, I'll need a sample of alloyed iron and bronze from the site of your entrapment. About this much should do. She opens her palms around 6 inches apart. Can't we just cut that much off of him? Fatebinder! No, I'm afraid, even if Barik here were disposed to the idea. I am not. Okay. We'll get you some sample. And I await your return. Peering thoughtfully into her slab tuck in the iron rod within. So our friend Barik is becoming more and more interesting. His armor is alive. You need a sample of fused iron and bronze from the site of Barik's exposure to the Edict of the Storms outside the Blade Grave. Accompany Barik to the Sentinel Stand outskirts to find one. And away we go! Let's see. I sometimes wish it would just let you, Oh, there we go. Wait, no, that's not it. There it is, Blade Grave. Sometimes you just gotta search around this this map and figure out where it is. Sentinel Stand outskirts, where the Edict of Storms happened, which pretty much encased our friend Barik in armor. It will take you 4 days, 22 hours, 30 minutes, and 2 seconds to get there. Complete your journey on the secluded forge. And away we go! Ugh. But yeah, it is a very dialogue-heavy game. It doesn't actually have to be that way. It's kind of the way I play right now because I'm interested in the story. I am a lore-heavy person, but we might be getting into it. This looks like the kind of place where people would be lurking around ready to kill.
My Lord Binder, you have something which requires my attention? What can I do for you?
Nope, nothing. Okay, so let's start searching this place. Ooh, that looks like something important. Yes. Yes. And... yes. I love some of the backgrounds in this game. It's really interesting the way they draw some of them up. Oh! Hi there! Crimson flashes around the torn terrain of the Blade Grave as a gang emerges from the landscape around you. They're hardened men and women with well-weathered skin and narrow eyes. Their piecemeal leather armor graced with notes of bronze. Fatebinder, so nice of you to finally show up. A woman steps forward, grinning at you with small, uneven teeth, wrapped tightly in the fur and leathers of a blood chanter. A tangled mess of sooty, wind-blown hair drapes at her shoulders. Her large eyes scrutinize you hungrily. Beautiful scenery, no? Truly displays the indiscriminate artistry of our overlord. Am I supposed to know who you are? That's careless, Spark. Good people. I mean, as far as the chorus comes. Verse keeps her voice low, speaking for you alone. Ahoy there, Verse! It's been a while. Telling the Fatebinder about that time we found that cute commune out halfway gateway, trussed up those farm boys and... No! Also shut up! Sounds like there's a story there. Maybe I'll tell you once we're good friends. Go ahead, Spark. We'll see how many wags your tongue manages before I torn it out and cauterize the stump. Enough of this insipid prattle. I'd heard you run hot under all that cold metal. Seems I heard true. How did you know I'd be here? Think we don't keep tabs on Halfgate? It's also it's on Cacophony's doorstep. Then what do you want? I'm aiming to have a word with your bronze boy there. She nods to Barik. I will spare you no breath, Crimson Witch. Don't let the spiny exterior fool you. He's really a big filthy pooch when you get to know him. In that case, we'll get to know him quickly enough. She winks at Barik. You heard, Barik. Whatever you're peddling, he's not interested. In that case, maybe I can interest you, Fatebinder. I don't expect you're willing to sell the Ironclad service to us. The Archon of Secrets would be wildly, ridiculously grateful to have a personal audience with him. Whether I can spare Barik or not depends entirely on what you're offering. What does the Archon of Secrets want with him? I think I speak for both Barik and myself when I say we'd sooner see him dead than in the hands of the Voices. Voices of Nerad is the guy who runs the Crimson, the Scarlet, Scarlet Chorus. Your heavy friend survived an edict and came out stronger for it. You think the voices wouldn't be a mite curious? Yeah, Voices of Narad is kind of like a spy master for Kairos, so his whole thing is information. Despite the fact that he runs a ragged crew of assholes. Whether I can spare Barik depends entirely on what you offer. These bracers. They may not look like much, but they're of a rare make. Specially crafted for ease of movement, the Blood Chanter grins, raising a hand. I can assassinate Careless Spark. I can pass, and she can go, or I can attack her outright. I bet you she's strong, so I'm going to go ahead and subterfuge. Good! Bring me those things. Why are you so pissed off? She was a scarlet... Whatever. End conversation. The Blood Chanter approaches you warily, unfastening the bracers as she comes. You gesture to the ground, suggesting she drop them. She falls for the feint, her eyes dropping in an instant, and your weapon appears in your hand in a flash. She raises her staff to deflect your strike, but your thrust slips under your guard and directly into the soft flesh where the lower jaw meets the neck. Blood pouring from her neck and mouth, Careless Spark drops to her knees. For F's sake, Binder. Yeah, that's right, I stabbed your boss. As the remaining choirmen move to attack, Barik turns the shadow eye slits of his helm upon you. You're entirely without honor. Oh, come on. Anyways. Alright, we're in battle now. Okay. So... yeah, penetrating shot. So for this particular character, I'm rocking a spear. Also, I should mention, this is similar to Baldur's Gate in a way that you can actually pause the combat for a second and think out your moves before you make them. So for this one, I'm gonna try to hit these two guys with a penetrating attack. For her... ooh, that's a good one. There are once you get your guys up enough, there are actually team attacks they can do with each other. This is something that Barik and Verse can do together. And they'll really hurt those guys up front. And then, alright.
Let's do it, you and me.
Yeah. That messed up a lot of those dudes. Alright. Next up. Woof. Did that guy explode? Oh my god, that poor guy exploded. Okay. You know what? I have an idea. I'm gonna cast an illusion spell on this guy, because besides being a spearmaster, my guy is also good with deception spells. So I'm gonna cast an illusion on this guy.
Out by your ass.
Okay, how's our guys doing? Quill Strike. And I think she has a Burning Iron, Skewer. Let's go with Burning Iron. Whoa, that guy needs to go. let's move in on this guy and do some harm to him.
You'll have to hit harder than that.
Ooh. Actually, now that I think about it, I need to get in position for this. I have an attack that can go through several people at once. Yeah! Cast him.
Are you afraid of death?
What is Barik doing? Striking iron.
Sorry, can't.
They're pretty much dead.
This weapon is entirely worthless.
Well, that's that. We kind of super murdered those dudes. Oh well. Retrieve your sample, and then let's be gone from this Kairos condemned waste. Barik glares at you as droplets of blood swirl slowly down his armor.
Honest.
So, alright.
Will do.
Well, first I'm gonna loot these bodies. Take all that stuff. Then we get our...
It is nigh the size of a kite shield.
We exploded a man.
Let us leave this place.
Something bothering you?
Aside from the dishonor you displayed in your handling of the Blood Witch, I have repeatedly asked you to leave this be, yet you persist. Do you think that you act in my interest? Do you think you know better than I where my interest lies?
Barik, I just want to help. Why are you so resistant?
There was no ambiguity in the Archon of Justice's ruling.
More ambiguity than you might think. The flexibility of the laws is in the details. Or, you're right, I'll give more No.
I may never understand you clerks of the court, saying one thing and plotting another, all in the name of justice.
Peering around the ground for several seconds, Barik says nothing and then turns his attention back to you.
This place haunts me, Fatebinder. These walls, these lands, they were hard once, but they possessed an austere beauty. The general saw them for what they were. Lands well worth fighting for.
Yeah, and then Kairos turned them into a pile of crap, so who are you for? Anyways, can you lose members? Yes. Well, no. Actually, it's... So, there is a version of difficulty in this game where once a party member starts taking damage, they can be knocked down and they can be wounded, and they'll carry that wound for the rest of the game. And at a certain extent, they can actually die from their wounds. So that is a level of difficulty that you can actually apply to this game. You can also go without that level of difficulty. You can actually cut the difficulty down so far that Obsidian wants you to play through this game. They want you to see the story that they've written. And you can actually turn the difficulty down to where you actually can just auto-win the combat and play for the story alone. And I've actually always liked that about them. You can make it as hard or as easy as you want.
The winds that day, they swept everything aside. They tumbled tearsmen and livestock like children's playthings. The dust choked our mouths and eyes. Trees appeared as if by magic, only to be smashed into splinters against stones. And those splinters cut like knives.
It haunts you? I was the one who proclaimed the edict. Or go on. Go on.
We were no fools. We knew what had fallen upon us, and we took cover as best our iron shields and the general's protection allowed. Yet the wind tore us away, one by one. Some silent, some screaming. Now only I remain. In this state.
Survivor's Guild. Yeah, Tyranny is the name of the game. And specifically this expansion is called Tyranny Bastard's Wound.
Take the metal to your smith, or do not. There's nothing further to be said. Let us leave.
And yeah, so that is a portion of Barik's quest. As I said, there's a lot to this. There's 15 hours worth on top of the normal Tyranny game, which is a good about 30 to 40. There's a lot to do in this one, and for those of you who play through the game, those of you who like Verse, those of you who like Barik, those of you who like Lantry, this is a good way to expand their story and get to know them more. You play into the second act, and then you can start engaging in this particular set of quests. So that's as far as I can go with this one. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you enjoyed the stream. If you're interested in seeing more, we do these streams just about every day. You can find them on GameWatcher.com. We also do post every stream that we've done up on YouTube at the same set, YouTube on GameWatcher.com's channel. If you're interested in reading more about this stuff, you can find more information on it at GameWatcher.com. We're doing coverage on these things frequently. Yes, the game is similar to Baldur's Gate. Members of Obsidian actually... I do believe that members of Obsidian actually helped work on Baldur's Gate. This is available now. You can get it on Steam. It came out, I believe, yesterday. Tyranny is available. This is available. They're open to buy, I think, on Steam and I think maybe also on GOG. But that's going to be the end of it. If you guys want to watch this, if you missed out, we will be uploading this stream shortly, and you can watch it in its entirety. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. We're signing off now. Thank y'all. Take care.